are several different types of paper that you can use, and most of you have the charcoal paper. And what I did here is I cut first in half that paper, because it's 25 by, I believe, 19 inches large. And there are two pieces of charcoal paper that many of you have in your kits, which is this brownish or beige soft color, and the other one is something similar to this blue color, but this is not the charcoal color, the charcoal paper that I'm talking about. It's a different brand. But this one is, and I actually got down to this size, which is, let's see, it's a quarter from the entire sheet. So it's more than 12 and a half inches by 9.5. So that would be ideal to work on for your assignment, in which you're creating 4 different landscapes. Okay, and a half of the piece would be great for still life. Yes, and it's relatively thin, but it has a little bit of texture, so it's nice on one side, especially. On the other is it's less textured, so you can choose which you want to work with, which side. And I would definitely decide on the one with texture, so that a pigment powdered from pastels would hold on to that texture. Okay, and then we have this piece here, loose piece, and it's similar to, it's also it's a pastel paper, piece of paper, but it's from Pastel paper by Strathmore. It's from 400 series, and it's textured, of course. On one side it's more than the other. It has a little bit different texture, more granular. It's also very good for pastel and relatively cheap. But these are all pretty thin pieces of paper on which you won't be able to work with solvents or with a rubber alcohol if you're thinking about creating underpainting, and I will talk about this in a moment. And there's another brand from Canson, Metintes, or Metints, pastel paper, also one of the most economical and pretty good pieces of paper. It's already 9 by 12, so it's really nice size for your landscape drawings or paintings. Oh, there's something. Okay, so we have several warm colors here. Maybe I can use one of these for the landscape drawing, just because it's nice warm color, and it will be perfect as a toned background for some greens, some blues, so temperature wise cooler colors. So it's a really good idea to always look for toned paper that is temperature-wise different or opposite to your subject matter. Okay, and then what I have here, this is actually mixed media from Strathmore, I believe, paper on which you can paint directly. It buckles a little bit though, and it has tiny little of texture, so it's a little bit thicker than your Strathmore drawing paper. I covered large piece 18 by 24, I believe, with gesso, tinted gesso. So I added tiny little bits of 2 different colors, I believe, maybe burnt sienna, so dark brown, and maybe umber, some type of yellow. I don't remember, that's been a while, but I just wanted to achieve warm gray. So you could have also cool gray and add a little bit of blue, tiny little bit of blue to gesso. And gesso is as a type of paint or primer, actually, for paper and canvas. And you can get it cheap from craft stores or online. I recommend Utrecht brand because it's thicker and it's still, in terms of price, pretty low. So that would be a great solution to prime the paper to make it a little bit thicker and less absorbent of alcohol or water if you want to treat this afterwards with underpainting. So underpainting, it will be, and I will explain later in the next video, it will be just creating basic color shapes and then blending them, and you can do it dry, but you can also use solvents and water to create some interesting watercolor effect for your underpainting. And here is actually a piece of paper, and it's pretty large. I don't know if camera can capture all of that, but it's a half piece from a large sheet of paper. It comes in. So here is just white gesso with brush that I applied without water. You don't want to dilute it, and you just apply nicely and neatly. There was tape. The piece was taped to the floor, so that's why you have a little bit visible edge here or around. And you see that the color of that paper is somewhat cream. So I already had toned paper and I wanted to have this somewhat white. So I covered it in gesso. So additional supplies, of course, you need Faber-Castell soft pastels 24 set or a similar brand, similar quality. Blenders, in terms of blenders, you can use a couple of things. You can even use toilet paper, some type of piece of paper, or even this is already used piece of paper already in soft pastel, and it's a paper towel. Okay, things that are also very useful, especially in diffusing or blending in the very beginning in underpainting colors of shapes, is the use of makeup blenders. So here's the wedge. Of course, it's been a while I was using these in classes, so now they are so soaked, basically soaked in pastel, if you will. So there are different types of these wedges, and sometimes flat circular shapes. I had it somewhere here. Okay, very useful. Paper stamps, tortillas might be used as well by you. Not everyone likes them. Any piece of a rag or piece of old shirt. This has already been used quite a bit. And then, especially when you're using rubber alcohol, but not only, also to blend, you can have Q-tips. You can use them, especially for details. It's pretty good. And then you also have cotton balls. And the rubber alcohol that I was talking about, isopropyl alcohol, if you can use, if you have a little bit of a spare amount, that would be very, very good for if you want to create wet underpaintings. But it's not required. You can use also water. So it, in terms of smell, it won't be that bad, and won't be irritating. So, but it might not be as good as this. And I would recommend strongly, and actually avoid, using straight alcohol straight on 18 by 24 thin piece of paper from your Strathmore pad. It will never work. It will buckle. It will be really disaster. So this solvent you would only use whenever you have primed paper or thicker paper that can handle it. So it won't absorb as much of that alcohol. Okay. So yeah, so these are the materials and supplies that you need.